If you told me a year ago that I was going to drive alone to Florida and back with my dogs and all my art, I'd have told you you were crazy. There's no fucking way. I'd barely left the state in over a decade. I still can't get over how much can change in a year.
Good boys. We got doggies. Are we ready to go? Are we ready for this long trip? Oh, wow. Oh, shit. I guess we'll find out.
When I left for Florida, I felt like everything had fallen apart. A life I thought I was preparing myself for no longer existed, and I was still feeling the sting of deep betrayal. So when I thought that I had this opportunity in Florida, it felt like the universe was telling me this was meant to be. So I just drove from Seattle to Florida by myself. I left on Thursday, so this is day 6. Oh my god, there's a little iguana in the tree. How cute. Look at the sun. The drive to Florida was increasingly rough. Since I was alone with my dogs, I decided that I would just haul ass and get the drive over with. I rushed straight through the middle of the country in a grand total of 6 days. My theory about driving is that 3 days is the magic number. The first 3 days, it's still an adventure. It's still exciting, and it's about as long as I can deal with not taking a shower. It would also appear that 3 days was about as much as my little car could handle. But nonetheless, I felt so supported on that drive. I had so many people to talk to, so much energy for the new adventure, and so much passion for the new project. When I got to the car dealership in Homestead, I cried. I drove myself across the whole country, by myself. No matter what happened next, that's something I have forever. But once I got to Florida, it became quickly clear to me that things were not what I was expecting. What was presented as a welcome opportunity felt more and more like an inconvenient pity. What was supposed to be a chance for me to live my truest artistic self became an even harsher version of everything I went there to get away from. It got so bad that I wondered if I would feel less alone on the road. It was an absolute disaster. The day things got really bad, I almost packed up and just left right then and there. We ultimately worked it out, but I knew that day that it was over and I had to leave. I felt more alone than ever, and I just wanted to go home. Since I had more time to plan, and I had more experience with driving across the country, I opted for the more scenic route so I could take in more of this country. It was a chance to still get some new experiences and a way to go a little easier on myself, my dogs, and my car. That day in late October when I started on the long road home, I felt relief. I got so lost in the mess of the summer that I was letting anyone with an idea tell me what to do with my life. I knew when I got home it was time to come up with my own plan, but first I had to get there. So, I left the Keys. I'm still in Homestead, which is basically the city before the Keys, but on my way out with my babies. And yeah, so there we go. Back to Seattle. But now I had New Orleans on the brain and another adventure to look forward to. At my new leisurely pace, it took nearly 3 days just to get out of Florida, but the drive back was much nicer. Since the days were getting shorter, I would do most of my driving in the morning, stopping for a few hours at a park and appreciating more of what there was to see along the way. Then finding a Walmart or rest area, I was going to stay out for the night. Everything before Texas was exciting again. I went out of my way to visit more places and gave myself the space to think and breathe. I originally planned to take it a step further and do some painting and writing and other activities, but it always ended up being too inconvenient. It was still very hot out, and getting out a bunch more supplies always felt like too much of a hassle. But it made things harder for me, because I was going on my 4th month of barely making any art. When you have the soul of an artist, not creating feels like a slow death. But I knew I'd be free again once I could get through this trip. The South was its own experience. I had never been through the South before, and I was honestly a bit nervous. I've been fortunate enough that I've never been pulled over in all my years of driving, but it had been quite a while since I'd been in states where not only was weed illegal, but the punishments were still wildly irrational. And I had people tell me before I left that some of the states I'd drive through would pull me over just for having Washington plates. Besides human trafficking and car accidents, it was definitely a concern that occupied my mind. When you have to travel every single literal mile one by one, it can be overwhelming to think ahead. There's a certain part of you that's focused on survival. I was the only one there. My little white dogs, though a solid alarm system, were not much help for protection. Every new location was strange. Every single person I saw was a complete stranger. And even though it sounded quite lonely, it could also be quite liberating. I was just me, and I couldn't hide from it. This trip really forced me to take things slowly and focus on the present moment of what I can experience. I was finally free. I felt like there was no one left for me to answer to, no opinions that could stop me or tear me down, and all at the same time I felt trapped, still in my car, still alone, no hundreds of miles from anyone or anything I knew. It could feel as powerful as it could feel powerless. When I got out of Florida, I cried. When I got out of Alabama, I cried. When I got out of Mississippi, I cried. Every state border meant I was that much closer to home again. Going to New Orleans was definitely one of the biggest accomplishments of my trip. It was the one place in the United States that I really wanted to go, but never really got the chance. So I'm in New Orleans. Man, this place is wild. It's like a whole other world, truly. All these buildings are so pretty and cool. The street is ghetto as hell. Holy God. I drove around blasting the Princess and the Frog soundtrack. I ate a fresh beignet, and I left an offering for the spirit of Madame Laveau and her voodoo shop. It was perfectly what I wanted it to be. Then again, I was alone with my dogs in 80-degree weather in a city that had the strictest panorama guidelines I'd come across since it began. So there wasn't a whole lot I could actually do there, a fact that was true of most of the trip. On the one hand, having my dogs could be really limiting, but on the other, they made me feel safe and less alone. There are states in this country that I'll be happy to never step foot in again, but Louisiana isn't one of them. There was still so much to see and do there, so much food I didn't get to try, and music I didn't get to enjoy. I definitely want to go back someday and live more of that experience that's the weird little city called New Orleans. You guys, I got beignets, and I am so excited. Oh, they're so hot. I literally paid like $8.50 a parking and $4, like $12. It was $13 just to get beignets. It's so worth it.
That's why it's important for you to see this, because I feel like if you chose this pile, you need to know that the way your life is right now is not the way it is going to be forever. In fact, I think that this is going to be a very healing time for you, because you're going to be reflecting and you're going to realize, wow, I've come so far, I've already cultivated so much, and now I have the motivation to keep going. It's like you've already built such a solid foundation for yourself, and now it's time for you to realize that you're no longer, a child or somebody that doesn't have life figured out. Like, you're the adult now. You're the person who has things figured out, and you don't have things figured out, which is a little bit of a scary perspective to have. But the freeing thing is that you're just realizing how far you've come, how much you've grown, and the fact that, life is so different and you've overcome so much. You're healing. You're recognizing how lucky you are to be at this point in time and to be with these people, to have this partner, to have these children, to have this family. You're just feeling lucky and you're feeling grateful. So what happens that's exciting throughout the day is going to be different for all of you.
So I'm at this rest stop outside of New Orleans, 2 hours though, not even that close to New Orleans. There are literally Mardi Gras beads, stupid word, in the vending machine next to the peanuts. It's hilarious. Yeah, I just wanted to share. This has got, just really quick, this has got to be the most Texas. Gas station I've ever seen. I'm in Texas, by the way. Yeah. After Louisiana, I had to get through the mighty state of Texas. I'm gonna be honest, I hate Texas. I've hated it since I went there as a child, and now that I know their politics, I hate it even more. This trip only made my hatred grow stronger. Texas is not a friendly place to drive through, with by far the least options for places to sleep in your car, and the least dog-friendly stops in the whole trip. I will admit the Cadillac Ranch was pretty cool. Thankfully, I some crazy how got through the whole state in only 2 days. With less places to stop for rest, the long drive and the heat felt endless sometimes. It felt more like a personal attack the further I ventured inland. After so many days of driving, the road and views started to blur together. For a while, it never felt like I actually was getting any closer to home.
I'm actually crying. I'm so happy to be in New Mexico. I'm out of Texas. I'm so happy. Oh, look. Look, look. Look, look, look. Ah, I'm out of Texas. Ah! I hate Texas.
I truly believe everything happens for a reason. I had originally planned to drive up the West Coast, but new car trouble in New Mexico left me so over it, I just wanted to get home as quickly as possible. Part of me thinks this was the universe protecting me from the storm that took over the West Coast that week. Heading into Utah meant it was also the end of the nice weather. The days got less fun, and the nights and mornings were ice cold. The drive home took 10 days total. Looking back, I think I know what it was all for. I needed to know that I could do it. Sleeping in my car at rest stops, driving 12 to 14-hour days, spending days alone with myself, living in a way that focused a little more on basic survival. I honestly wouldn't take it back if I could. The lessons and experiences from that trip really showed me how much I was capable of. I doubt I'll ever drive across the United States alone like that again. But you never know. It's not something I ever expected for my life, but I'm glad it all happened. It's a big, huge, mostly boring country, and there's a sign about human trafficking in every single rest stop, which is terrifying. And somewhere in this beautiful land is a place called Machine Gun Land, fun for the whole family. But it's also kind of great. It's fascinating and different and beautiful and well worth it. Thank you for following me on my adventure across the United States. For more content about my adventures, please like and subscribe. If you made it this far into the video, comment below your favorite road trip story, or just leave a car emoji so I know you made it to the end. And remember to do everything with love. Bear.